Welcome to the course European Ritual Cuisine, Digital Presentation and Preservation. Module 1 explores ritual recipes and their documenting via usage of new digital technologies. And this lesson will contain information on historical and cultural value criteria for recipe preservation and also is dedicated to the types of ritual recipes. The traditional gastronomic resources can be a precious capital of knowledge, of resource of memory, of identity, and of heritage for the present, which, now as never before, feels the need of digitally connect with its analogical past. Once upon a time, there was an oral memory that guaranteed the transmission of this heritage. Today we must construct the shells, which allows to preserve it. This lesson will provide the classification of ritual recipe types, which may help to organize recipe digitization issues with historically, geographically, and culturally diverse contexts. Recipe can be a testimony for the history of religious rituals. In religion, food is one of the most important parts of religious ceremonies. Before reading became fundamental, the lessons and remembrances of faith were passed on through spoken stories, songs, artwork, and food. An example, decorated Easter eggs. Christianity's celebration of Jesus' resurrection of Easter Sunday, after being put to death 3 days earlier, has become an Easter icon and often used to illustrate both the sealed empty tomb and new life. Orthodox Christians traditionally painted the eggs red to signify the blood of Christ. Of course, today we've taken on all sorts of pastels and lovely colors. The life stories of over many peasant farmers, breeders, greengrocers, cheesemakers, wine growers, distillers, artisans, and cooks, not to mention those who sell agricultural products, gastronomic products, or scholars and experts in local culinary customs. In other words, people who in various capacities work every day to safeguard the world's gastronomic heritage, captured in digital format, is another type of significant ritual recipes. These ritual recipes, besides main recipe content, may include the story, as for example in case of Polish traditional cheese oszczypek, a smoked cheese with an unusual spindle shape. There is information regarding the role of women within the agricultural pastoral society of the Tatra Mountains, where tradition did not allow the woman to approach the sheep. In the past, according to popular beliefs, the women were not even allowed to appear in the mountain hut where the cheese was made before the feast of Saint John the Baptist, June 24th, to avoid the appearance of worms in the cheese. Collecting such life stories, along with ritual recipes, means seeking out a more intimate and personal cultural portrait that would be possible otherwise. Gastronomic traditions are often a huge part of family gatherings, or are often associated with passing along part of our heritage, the special or secret recipes of our ancestors. These gastronomic traditions often happen regularly, whether it's a year after year to mark a certain event, as Christmas celebration, or after a specific situation, like a dish made to celebrate the birth of a baby. One of examples of this is baking gingerbread cookies during Christmas and mailing them to our loved ones. After hours of baking cookies and sneaking some cookie dough in between, they are placed them in the holiday tins and sent off to grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. The gastronomic heritage is firmly tied to a regional rural identity, and more specifically to way of eating and to particular ways of producing foodstuffs, thus reflecting traditions in specific geographical area. For example, many products of Italian cuisine and dishes are named after cities: bistecca alla fiorentina, prosciutto di Parma, saltimbocca alla Romagna, pizza napoletana, risotto alla milanese, pesto genovese, etc. However, this link is not exclusive to the Italian context. It is to be found in different forms in other geographical areas, as kurzemes sklandrausis, one of the most traditional and most unique Latvian dishes. It was the first Latvian dish that was granted traditional specialty guaranteed status by the European Commission, listing it along other European specialties like champagne, gorgonzola, and camembert. Very often there are recipes when making process is itself rich in tradition. In this case, the main interest is set to the process. It's also important to reproduce the vitality, the creativity that accompanies the preparation of a dish. An example is traditional rye bread baking, which is one of the most honored traditional skills in Latvia, in wood-fired bread oven. In Latvian families, it was traditionally one of the main duties of the lady of the house to bake a week's supply of bread for the whole family every Saturday morning. Every woman was proud of her own unique recipe, bread baking process skills, and passed it down to her daughters and granddaughters throughout the generations. Another recipe type is aimed at emphasizing agricultural products and foodstuffs in danger of extinction, current, possible, or foreseeable, strictly linked with the culture, the history, and the traditions of a community and or a territory. At a risk of extinction does not mean that the product is disappearing in the strict sense of the term, or from a biological standpoint. What is considered to be at a risk is not always the product itself, but rather its use and its production. In fact, often a new product is preferred to a more traditional one simply because it's considered old. Collection and digitization such recipes helps to identify items to the list of endangered foods and return them to culinary rotation, or to engage chefs, farmers, or curious eaters to grow and cook some of the lost breeds and varieties and to incorporate traditional ingredients into modern restaurant dishes. As an example here, the Latvian Czarnikava lamprey, cooked in various ways, smoked, boiled, in soup or in salad, but the most typical dish is grilled lamprey. In 2015, the European Commission included this fish in the list of national products. Species preservation was already important in 1880, but nowadays low rainfall and consequent lowering of the water level in the Gauja was prevented to return of lampreys to the river, causing catches to plummet. Agriculture and food are core components of human heritage. Hence, culture and food traditions play a central role in society and in shaping human behavior. However, in many instances, our current food systems have created a disconnection between food habits and culture, and collection of ritual recipes can recover this balance. Supporting access to culturally appropriate food recognizes the connections we have to food which go beyond nutrition and strengthen our connections to our families, cultures, and environments. Agroecology plays an important role in rebalancing tradition and modern food habits, bringing them together in a harmonious way that promotes healthy food production and consumption. As people and ecosystems have evolved together, cultural practices and indigenous and traditional knowledge offer a wealth of experience that can inspire modern society to realize the sustainable, healthy, and culturally appropriate diets. As an example is the people of Crete, the largest of the Greek islands, which eat a rich variety of foods drawn from the groves and farms and the sea. They lived on a so-called Mediterranean diet, long before it became a fad. There are some people trying to preserve Crete's healthy way of eating, and these recipes have high digitization value. This is information about identification of ritual recipes, national and cultural significance, which is elaborated by International Project Eurica Working Group. Please see our next lessons in order to explore digital presentation and preservation of Europe ritual cuisine.